Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what we have in store for you today. In today's story, the man says, I caught my fiancé cheating on me with her colleague, so I plan to get back at her for the pain she caused me and leave without a trace. Now this is an updated story, so stay with us until the end. Obviously, a number of years have passed since the incident, and I have never once mentioned this to anyone in my new life. I'm going to let my fingers do the talking tonight while I enjoy a nice glass of wine. I believe I had found the right woman. In our final year of college, we got to know one another. We hit it off right away when we first met at a party. She could have been a model because she was a stunning blonde with skin glowing from the sun. She led an active life full of friends and was kind, sympathetic, caring, and a good listener. During the 3 years that we knew each other, she liked my friends, and it was great how our friend groups came together. I was on for a post-grad in finance, and she had a degree in contractual law. This is just to say that we ended up being successful in our own rights. But I'm no slouch in the looks department either. 5'11", 190 pounds, and liked the gym. I wasn't a super athlete, but let's just say I was built. However, I am very shy and didn't have a lot of prior relationships prior to meeting her. The first evening we met, we were smitten. The first night we talked all night. Then it went to texting, phone calls daily, then dates weekly, and then after a year she moved in. I loved her family and her family loved me. Mostly her mother, as her father was standoffish, as he was to everyone. It was a whirlwind romance. After 2.5 blissful years of overseas vacations, hiking trips and luxury vacations, I proposed to her. She said yes. I was over the moon. She was doing all the planning for the wedding. We were talking about our futures together, buying a house, children and family trips that we were going to take together and all such things like that. Then it happened. One evening after we both got home to our apartment, she's a little distant. I think I noticed it right away as we were always very affectionate towards each other. This would only happen about once a week for the first month, then it was more frequent. So I waited and observed. These bouts of ignoring me would only last a couple of hours, then she would be right back to normal. But after 6 months, she was like this almost every night. Intimacy was still great, my relationship with her parents was still great, but over Thanksgiving at her parents' home, she was standoffish towards me in front of her mother. Now, her mother was a very observant woman. She pulled her daughter aside to talk to her and I could hear them arguing. After some heated but muffled words, they returned to the rest of the family and carried on like nothing was going on. I figured I could ask her about it later and did. She was not willing to talk about it and asked me to wait till we were home to discuss it. I agreed as I loved her deeply and thought we could work through anything. Her mother was an older version of her. Same stunning looks, just a few greys in her long thick blonde hair. This is important later. Back home, I asked her about it, and she was unwilling to discuss it. When pressed on for a week, she finally confessed that a guy at her work was trying to get to know her better. She wanted to be forthcoming, so she showed me her phone, and as I looked through it, I noticed that all the texts that would have happened during the times she was withdrawing from me were removed. There was nothing untoward in the texts. But I did go into her phone settings and turned on her locator on her phone as we shared the same phone plan. And I honestly thought it would make me see that she was not doing anything wrong. Oh, how wrong was I? That second weekend after Thanksgiving, she had a company Christmas party. I had planned on going but came down with food poisoning and had to back out. She had a girlfriend pick her up from our apartment as they planned on drinking a lot that evening. We had planned on going out all night, so I told her to have a blast and I would see her in the morning. So, as I'm puking my guts out and barely able to get off the toilet for more than 30 minutes, I grabbed my phone and watched her location. First, it was a restaurant, then the venue of the company party, then a bar, None of this alarmed me until I saw her phone stop in a downtown hotel. At this point, I was miserable in more ways than three. I fell asleep due to sheer exhaustion at 2 a.m. At 7 a.m., I woke up and saw she was still at the hotel. At noon, she finally comes home, and I'm on the mend. She loves me up, and I asked her about the previous night without mentioning anything about knowing her locations. She talks about the restaurant, the party, the bar, but then she says she went to her girlfriend's house to crash for the evening. First lie. For the next 3 months, she has to start working later and later, 3 to 4 days a week. As I start asking her about it, she becomes more and more defensive. I talked to her mum one evening when my fiancé didn't come home until late. I asked her mum about the Thanksgiving conversation, and she admitted to me that she thought her daughter might be stepping out of our relationship because of how she read her body language. She also said that her daughter was being more and more distant with her in their weekly texting conversations. With all this speculation that was going on in my mind, I kept it to myself. 2 weeks later, I ended up getting a new project that required me to fly to the Midwest Monday through Friday for the next 5 weeks. It came with an increase in salary, and as I broke the news to my fiancée, she was delighted. I didn't think though that she was excited for the same reasons I was. So I went online and ordered 4 motion-activated spy cameras for my apartment. I put one in the living room, entry area, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom, and one looking down our hallway. They were very small and connected to the internet via a hidden network, so couldn't be spotted on the Wi-Fi. I secured the cams with a password and waited. On my first week out, she had girlfriends over the first 2 nights and never worked late once. The third night, a guy came over. I was enraged. I'm sitting there in my hotel room screaming at the monitor and calling her every name in the book. Then they went all the way. First on the couch, then in our bed. She bent in ways for him that I didn't know were possible. The worst was, as I was watching, I called her to see how her day went. She hears her phone, holds her hand up for him, and answers the call. I asked why she was breathing heavily, and she said that she was at the gym working out. As soon as the call is over, she goes right back to whatever they were doing. When I got home Friday evening, I ignored her and went right to bed. And early Saturday got up and went cycling. I was so upset that I didn't even realize that I biked over 50 miles from my apartment. Getting back was absolutely exhausting. Then she and I went out that evening and had fun with our friends and had a lot to drink. I was really upset. Heartbreak and feelings of betrayal all swirled around in my heart and mind. She, who used to be so attractive, was oblivious to all of this. It hurt so much because I loved her so much. I finally confided in one of our mutual friends, and he told me that they all knew about it for months. I was finally told. They all felt sorry for me, but no one again said a thing to me, which is why they stopped inviting us out with them. I hadn't noticed it before, but I could look back and see that about 3 months prior, they gradually invited us less and less. So I figured I would try and win her back. The next weekend, I planned the entire weekend of spoiling her in every way. Wined and dined, pampering, massages, rubs, and talking to her about future plans and how much I loved her. I knew I was starting to break through when after her 4th glass of wine she started to cry, and I could tell the guilt was coming up to the surface. I asked her what was wrong, but she would stop every time she tried to speak. I then told her that if she did something in her past or was having some kind of conflict in her mind that she needed to speak to me about, that I was more than willing to talk to her about it. And if forgiveness was needed, then I was more than willing to forgive and move on. The only words that came out of her mouth is how much she loved me. It actually hurt to hear that from her, as I now had 4 separate videos of her and the other guy in our apartment. Over the next 8 weeks of traveling to the Midwest for work, I recorded over 41 hours of her having physical relations with her co-worker. She never worked late once while I was gone. I tried every weekend to be extra attentive. With each week she got more and more distant. After watching this for weeks, I was done, so I devised a 12-step getaway plan. Number 1. Gather evidence. Number 2. Get her out of the way in order to execute my plan. I scheduled a 2-week exclusive getaway trip first at an all-inclusive resort in Barbados. She was ecstatic. Then a week before the trip, I claimed that I had to back out and told her to take a friend. I knew it was over when she showed me no disappointment that I couldn't go. She scheduled the co-worker to go with her. Number 3. Terminate our apartment lease. It would expire 3 days into her trip and I was the sole signature on the lease. Number 4. Find a job in another town. The company I had been assisting in the Midwest had offered me a job with a slight increase in salary. Number 5. Find a new place to live. I got an apartment in the above said location. When she is gone, I plan to perform the following. Number 6. Take her to the airport, go back home and pack all her things on the same day. Number 7. Get a new phone and email. Cancel all social media. Number 8. Separate us completely in regard to finances. Withdrew all monies from our joint accounts and then closed them. I put all her money in an envelope and packed it in her things. Number 9. Have the movers pack all my things up and ship to the West. Number 10. Take all her things to her mother's house 600 miles away. All my fiancé's belongings fit into the back and bed of my F-250 crew cab. Number 11. Give her mother the evidence. Number 12. Start my new life. I didn't want to do anything that was illegal, so I made sure that nothing of hers was missing. It was so hard to pack all her stuff nice and neatly away. I've never cried so hard in my life. My hope was that she would genuinely confess so we could forgive and move on. She never did. Twice she came really close, but her secret was too hard for her to reveal. Well guys, we have part 2 of the story coming up, but before that, if you are enjoying the story so far, please hit the like button so this video will reach more beautiful people like you all over the world. Now here is part 2. Tuesday morning, I left our apartment north of DC for the last time. It took 10 hours to get to her mom's house. What happened when I got there, I was not prepared for. I arrived at her mom's house around 8 in the evening. I figured she would be surprised to see me since I was coming down unannounced. Since they lived in a gated community, I had to buzz her house from the front gate, so she was waiting for me outside when I drove up. I could tell that she had been crying when I walked up to see her. I asked her what was wrong and she hugged me, bawling that she thought her husband was cheating on her with a much younger, skinnier and prettier woman. Dumbfounded, I just held her for what was probably 10 minutes. She soaked my right shoulder with her tears and snot. When she finally composed herself, I asked if we could go in and talk. I asked where her husband was and she indicated that he said he was going fishing with his buddies at a remote cabin an hour away. Then she said, "He hates fishing." She gave me all the indications that she had picked up on, and apparently it had been going on for about a year. So, doing a little bit of research, we found a credit card hold charge for a 5-star hotel that was only 20 minutes away. It confirmed her husband was in fact there for a 4-night stay with his mistress. 2 peas in a pod, I said. What? She responded. 2 peas in a pod. I said again. Your husband is cheating on you and your daughter is cheating on me. That's why I came here, to drop her stuff off and move to another place. I showed her the evidence in a binder on screen captures I had made. After looking at the first 3 or 4 pages, she looked at me dumbfounded. We both hugged and cried for a good 30 minutes. At that point, she stopped crying and looked at me and said, "Well, tonight there's nothing we can do about it except for you and I to knock out these 3 bottles of wine and do it in every room of the house." She grabbed 2 glasses and a bottle of wine and walked to their private pool deck saying, "Are you coming out here or are you going to cry and wait?" Now, I won't go into much detail, but that night and for the next 3 days, we had so much fun, non-stop. After those days were over, we passionately said goodbye and I drove to my new destination. She kept me informed as to everything that happened when my now ex-fiancé got back. The day my ex-fiancé got back was epic. I cancelled my phone the morning of the day she got back, so when the plane landed, she called for a ride. It indicated that the phone was disconnected. She apparently had her lover take her home. He dropped her off and left. When she came to the door, a strange couple, who were the new tenants, answered the door and she freaked out. I can't tell you how many times she tried to call me because again the number was no longer valid. She went to her girlfriend's as the co-worker was already married. When she called her mum in panic, her mum told her that I had come down and dropped off all her things and mentioned that all her money was down there as well. Her mum didn't tell her that she had more fun with me in the 3 days than my ex-fiancé and I had in the last 6 months. But she did tell her that she knew that she was cheating on me and said that I found a new job, a new place to stay, and a new career far away from her and all the friends we had, and that her mother was separating from her father due to infidelity. Apparently she cried for days and took a week off work, but alas, she found comfort in the arms of her married lover. Her mum never let her know where I was at. I had completely cut off that part of my life. The only link I had to that life was my ex-fiancé's mum, and she has kept our secret to this day. And here's a little bit of the aftermath that happened. As for the timing of the events that led me to leave her, a lot of it was extremely fortunate timing for the lease ending, the job search success, and the phone plan ending. Things could have gone down much differently had any of those things been different. My ex-fiancé's mother kept in touch with me for several months afterwards, since we had a mutual loss of relationships and shared in a revenge of sorts against our SOs. However, neither of our respective SOs found out what happened between her and I. My ex-mother-in-law eventually came to see me after 7 months in my new location. But to the disappointment of many of you reading this, we only talked. We both actually regretted what we had done together, but acknowledged that it was in the past and in the heat of the moment. She said that her daughter knew that she knew where I was and was very upset that she would not divulge my location. She asked if she could tell my ex-fiancé where I was, and I gave her a way to contact me. But I asked that she not tell her, as I was in my new life. My ex-mother-in-law and I talked extensively about the possibility of her and her SO staying together and working it out. She said her husband was extremely remorseful and came clean on everything. She said it was a lot to take in and had asked him what he was going to do to earn back her trust. He gave her all his digital passwords and let her see everything he had ever done to hurt their marriage. She ended up being very angry but recognized that he was actually trying to repair the marriage. She said her forgiveness to him would come in time, but the trust would take longer. What caused him to snap back into reality was that she confronted him about the affair and showed him the evidence of what his daughter had done to me. She was an amazing woman in every way imaginable. She also stated that if he went outside the marriage, then she would be allowed to do so again. He picked up on the "again" phrase and asked her what she meant. She told him that as soon as she found out he was cheating, she also slept with the first eligible guy she found. He was devastated. She said that they cried a lot and agreed to separate for a short time to give each other time to articulate their thoughts and see if they both wanted to fight for their marriage. Eventually, they went on to marriage counseling and are still together as of now. As for my ex-fiancée, well, she was devastated by what I had done to her. When she finally went to her parents to gather her things, she was shown the evidence of the affair and was extremely embarrassed. My ex-mother-in-law had to edit the binder so that when her father saw it, he would not see pictures that a father should see of his daughter. Regardless, the ex-fiancé was crushed. She did not find out that her mother had my contact information until months later. She begged her mother for my information, and it put quite a strain on their relationship. Her mother also told her that if she tried to find or contact me, all the evidence would be released forever on the internet by me. This insistence of my ex-fiancé to divulge my information is what prompted her to come and see me. She was also upset about her parents having trouble in their marriage. According to her, my ex-fiancé was depressed for several months and sought counseling. She had immediately broken off the affair with the co-worker once she returned home from her parents' place and looked to find a new place of employment. Recently, I found out that she was married and has 2 beautiful twin daughters with a stand-up guy and still lives in the DC area, according to my ex-mother-in-law. She now works from home and is loving her new life. I'm glad that she was able to right her floundering ship and have a happy start in life again. I recently destroyed all the evidence I had on my ex-fiancé as I didn't want to be that guy who would hold on to those in case for the rest of her life. I did ask my ex-mother-in-law to let my ex-fiancé know about this. If I had been on the potential receiving end of that information, then it would have caused me many sleepless nights. As for myself, well, let's just say that I'm satisfied with my current life. My ex-mother-in-law and I talked every few months initially, but now we talk once, maybe twice a year. Usually, it's a short note updating each other on life's little changes. The only question that remains unanswered for me is that if my ex-mother-in-law and her husband were able to repair their marriage, would it have been possible for my ex-fiancé and I to have repaired ours? But I never gave it the chance. One can only speculate. Our lives are on vastly different planes now. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did recording it for you. Until I see you tomorrow, take care.